Here we are, this last part of the 4 o'clock hour. J.J. Joe, Baylor Radio Color Analyst, former Baylor quarterback, joins us on 365 Sports, Baylor at Colorado. We've mentioned that with Gary Barnett and also discussed it ourselves. J.J., all right, you played the position. Sawyer was efficient. The offense had really kind of seemed like they were they were rolling. They just, of course, the turnovers were deadly in some ways. What do you do? What do you do this week? DeQuan Finn, apparently, according to Dave Aranda, is back at practice. How do you handle this week if you were Dave Aranda?
Well, I mean, I think and Smoke, is good to see you. I think that Sawyer put him in a pickle a little bit. But if we believe the reports, and I know coaches like to hold stuff, until they make an official announcement. If we were to believe the reports during the fall, the spring, the summer, the fall, it's that the competition was neck and neck. And if that's the case, I would think based on the performances that coach has seen, that there's no way he can take Sawyer out of the starting lineup. Typically what happens is when a guy comes in, usually it can happen in the spring, but it really happens in games. Either a guy, wins the hearts and minds of the team, or he doesn't. And that's usually based on your performance. So if you ask me, I think that Sawyer has, he's given coach no reason to put him back on the bench. And DeQuan had 2 games. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but he had an opportunity to run with the gig, and it did happen. So that would be my thought.
JJ, is it a good problem to have or a bad problem to have?
No, I think it's good, and I said this at post game, and I also wrote it for you guys today. You just hope that I'm not sure. I don't know DeQuan that well. You hope he's a very mature young man. I know he came with high hopes that he recognizes that Sawyer sat there while he had a chance to. He won the position, had a chance to start 2 games, and Sawyer kind of had to work with it. And Sawyer's a 4th-year guy. And right now he has to, if coach chooses this direction, he has to hopefully be the kind of teammate that where if Sawyer gets the call on Saturday, he's going to be ready, prepared to support. So I think it's a good thing because you have 2 quarterbacks that can start a game and go win you a game. And that's always a plus.
JJ, what were your thoughts on just, Bryson Washington came in, obviously made a huge difference as well, of just the infusion of Washington and Robertson. What do you think that did for this offense, and how did it look to you as you walked away on Saturday?
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's one time in the game, and I forget if it must have been second half because we didn't really get going in the first half. But I was watching them as they went out. They went out, I think we're waiting on a TV timeout, and I was just watching the receivers. They had a 3-receiver set to the press box side, so I had a good view. And I'm not sure if it was Ashton or if it was Monterey. It was a smaller guy, so it was one of those guys. He's out there dancing, dude. That's all I had to see because I didn't see dancing in the first 2 games. I saw him dancing and it wasn't dancing like he's trying out for competition. He's kind of kicking like, hey, dude, we're active. And I just think that it's a good, like I said, we talked about a good situation. I just think that the life it injects, the guys, that whole second half, man, I was thinking like, shoot, I wish I would have saw this against Utah because I think it was just simply everybody recognizing that the new guy that he's put in, Sawyer, is able, for whatever reason, able to activate everybody and put everybody in play and really make us move the ball well. So that's always, man, you're happy as a player when that happens.
JJ, how many points is a turnover worth against you when you're on offense? How many points does that, if you were to kind of like say, cost a team? 3, 4, 7? I know it could be any of that.
So, like, if we have the ball and we turn it over, how much is
like
it
they
worth?
turned it over 3 times. Bryson fumbled and all.
Oh, yeah.
How much does that, in your opinion, is it almost like a double bogey is 2 strokes over par, right?
Yeah.
Is there a figure that would come to your head on that?
Well, I mean, it's not, Smo, but just to kind of give you an idea, if I look at the flow of the game, if you think about it, the first drive we didn't like, but he took a shot, but we kicked the field goal. And the way our kicker is kicking, we're almost, even though he missed one, it's like a guaranteed 3. But I'm going to tell you, the turnovers we had with Dawson, which I was surprised. Dawson never fumbles. But with Dawson, that was going to be a touchdown. I mean, we had him on the ropes. We were moving the ball swiftly down the field. That was going to be a touchdown. Then I think the next one, if I'm trying to remember which order these went in, it may have been Bryson's fumble. And Bryson caught that check down from Sawyer, and he's at the 24. I think that's at minimum a touchdown because they really were struggling, really keeping us from gaining yards. And then, of course, Trigg, I thought Trigg, that was an iffy one, so I won't give points on that. But I think, it just depends on flowing the game smoke. But the way ours happened, at least two of them, and even the third one was moving in. I think we left 21 points easily on the board. And I'm using a different number because, Coach Aranda has a propensity to go for two for some reason.
JJ, this Colorado team is explosive at the skill positions. They have the best player in the country probably in Travis Hunter. He's absolutely unbelievable. Now, where do you see Baylor having advantages here? Neither team is particularly proficient at running the ball, but Baylor showed some propensity for that last week, and that's what they're going to have to do to win this game. Where do you think this they can get over on Colorado on the road?
Yeah, I think if you're Colorado, number one, you want to try your best to keep Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter off the field, and I think you have to be prepared. Of course, to have to score points if you have to, but for the most part, I think Baylor's advantage to me. Teams have showed, even though Colorado State didn't show it, and Baylor hadn't shown a great run game. I think Baylor has to run the ball this week. That helps shrink the clock just a little bit, slows them down, keeps Shedeur off the field, and I think it starts to demoralize them. All the teams have been able to run the ball on them. You can see it about halfway through. Shedeur starts pressing, and I think that's what we want. We want something in where, number one, there's two ways to get Shedeur to press based on what I've seen. One, he's not getting that many opportunities. He will press and take chances. And then, of course, when he gets behind, he'll take chances as well. I think that's one area. And the second area is Garmin, Trevon. I think on the edge, we got a chance to win. I think they struggled on the edges, their tackles. I mean, those guys got to put pressure on Shedeur and get him off his spot. He's very good. I mean, you think of his dad, you think he'd be very mobile, throwing the run real well. Now, he can move and throw, but it's better to get him off his spot because if you let him sit on his spot, he doesn't miss very much.
JJ, I feel like we haven't seen much from the secondary in these first few games, right? I mean, definitely not in this past game. It was practically all run. What have you seen from the secondary from what we've seen, and what have you been able to glean from that?
No, I think we're very much, Craig, you mentioned, we're very much untested, man. I mean, I'm concerned a little bit just because, this will be the first team we've seen that's going to have some guys. They have two guys besides Travis. They have a couple, but besides Travis, I think it's Horn. I forget. It's Jim Horn. I think Jim Horn Jr. But those guys can go. And one of my concerns is that what I saw in the Utah game is both Caden and Snacks got a little handsy. And if you're getting handsy, although Utah has some solid receivers, I'm not knocking solid receivers. I mean, Utah's receivers. But I believe that Jim Horn Jr. and Travis Hunter may be the best two we see this year. Now, I'm just kind of reaching it because I don't know everybody. So I'm a little concerned about that. But if the formula here, man, is, the defensive line, the two guys I just talked about on the end, they ought to be licking their chops and trying to go get that quarterback. Because I think there's opportunities to get this quarterback because they still struggle at the tackle position.
I asked Gary Barnett, we had him on earlier, obviously the former Colorado Northwestern coach. You played the position at quarterback. Is there anything that protects a quarterback more than a good run game?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, that's what made me effective passing it. I wasn't the greatest passer. I mean, I could throw it, love to throw it. That's what I did in high school. But the fact that we had a commitment to running the ball, it gives you a lot of really what I would say predetermined coverage. I mean, typically, if you can run the ball, you see it in the NFL. In the NFL, if a young quarterback has a good run game, like a Dak had, or even, some of these quarterbacks come in, oh, man, I mean, they look like a stud because they're seeing predictive coverages. You're seeing a man free, you're seeing 3 deep. Every once in a while, you may see a 2 deep, but shoot, if you run the ball good, they don't want to play 2 deep. because they got to get one of those safeties down the box. So it really makes the game simpler for the quarterback, because all of a sudden they're not doing all this exotic, zone blitzes and all that stuff, because they figure, hey, these guys might even run the ball on 3rd and 6 or 7 or even 8 if they're good at it.
JJ, who have you seen that has exceeded their performance from a year ago, in your opinion, through these first 3?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. The first one that pops off the sheet to me that I think of is I really liking what I'm seeing from Matt. We're getting from Matt now what I really wanted to see from Matt last year. I'm not sure what Matt's true speed is, but Matt has a really good, what I would call an NFL body, I believe. And I believe he's a guy that if he has a good year, like he's starting off to have this year, he can play his way, I think, into, I think he'll get a chance on Sundays anyway. I think he'll play his way into, maybe, if not a late draft choice, someone that's in the mix. So Matt, as I thought, played well from last year. I'm trying to think off of, what I can think of the guys coming back, but he's the first one that jumps off the sheet to me because he's played well in his first 3 games.
Did you ever, and again, I know that the Big 12 changed, and did you ever play a game in Colorado?
Oh, yeah, we played up there twice. Smoke, we won. We beat them. They were defending national champs in 91. We beat them up there. Mm-hmm. The first home loss in like 18 games. And then we played them again in 93. They spanked us for that. we remember what y'all did. They had Cordell Stewart, and they had a good squad. But it's a different place to play. It's normal big formal Big 8 place because the stands are just right up on you. There's no room between the stands and the players. And it does. I mean, it takes you a little bit to get used to the thin air. But our guys have played at Utah already, played at BYU last year, so they kind of have an understanding of what that's like. But it's a beautiful place to play.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Great to see your face, too, JJ. Good luck with the broadcast Saturday. Friday,
thanks, guys.
Saturday.
Take care.
Thank you. JJ Joe, Baylor Radio Color Analyst, former Baylor quarterback with us on 365 Sports.